Worst host ever. You know, before you go live, after you get all your accounts connected, you probably ought to hit the go live button. I don't know. Maybe that's the way that works. We are live on Facebook now. She's checking YouTube. And we are live on YouTube. Okay, take two. Man, I was doing so good there at the beginning. John Turley, how you doing tonight?
Hey, what time does this live 7 o'clock thing start? 7:05.
7:05. I'm on method camp time, okay? That's 7:05. For
That works
those that
for
are
me.
watching now, we did have some technical difficulties to begin this, so we are a little late. But John and I, we met on Facebook, and I hate to use the same joke because it's not funny twice, but we, I
They
have
didn't
a
hear
lot
it.
of people that I have a lot of mutual friends because that usually means they're into Bigfoot or the paranormal. And so we actually met in person, though, at the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree in Ada, Ohio. And you come up to my booth, and um, when you introduced yourself, I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're friends on Facebook. So, John, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and Crowtown Squatchers?
All right. Yeah, cool. My name's John Turley, the other good-looking John on this podcast,
And you got an awesome mullet.
and I've got an awesome mullet because I stopped by the Myth Monsters and Mullets um, tent over there in at the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree, and I was like, I used to have, if you remember, I told you, I said I used to have this bandana and I used to have this hair way back in the day. This is like, putting on a time capsule, really. It's like, that's kind of how, but I was a lot thinner then too, so I can't do anything about that. I'm working on that right at the moment. So,
Weren't we all back in the
well,
day?
I mean, I don't know a lot of people that, I mean, some people do. They get, I don't know how they do it, but yeah, they get thinner. But most people, you put on a little pounds, a few pounds when you get older, especially if you're married to a beautiful woman.
I get that. I get that. I weighed
Then
125 pounds before I met Becca.
I
Well, I
guess they
mean,
can take that anyway.
I mean, I think that was just my left leg, but
There you go.
but you're right. You got to find a woman, a good-looking woman who can cook and makes you happy. You know.
Exactly. And I hope that it works both ways, obviously.
Uh oh. John Turley has left the building. This happens, man. This happens sometimes. We are having all kinds of technical difficulties tonight. Hopefully, John comes back. Um, this has not been the best live I've done. I can tell you that right now. You know, technical difficulties are, that's just part of being a podcaster. And tonight we're having all kinds. But yeah, John came up to my booth at the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree, and I'm not sure where he's at right now. And he bought a mullet, and I'm hoping he comes back in because if I tell this story, he's going to come back in and tell the story. His wife said, "You got that mullet on. You can't be in public with that mullet on." I saw the video. He was like, he was wearing my mullet at the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree, and he did a live and went up to his wife, and she's like, "What is on your head?" or something like that. So yeah. So while we wait to see if John is able to come back in, hopefully, hopefully, let me let me try sending a link. What was his email address? I tell you, I really do apologize, people. This is horrible, horrible. I tell you. Send another link here at live.com. Send that invite and hope you can come back in. But this week, let's see what we have on the schedule this week. We do have Amy's episode. She called in to the show. Am I right? Why is Alan Wattenbarger texting me when he knows I'm live? But anyway, we have. No, Amy was last week. This week is Angie Squat You Doing. She is from Arkansas. I met her at Beachfoot back in July. She came on the show and we ended up doing 2 episodes with her. So we're going to get a double dip this week. Plus, we're going to have our Halloween special. It's going to drop on Halloween. Matthew Wharton put that together for myself, Alan, and Chris from Nevermore Hollows. I've got a bug flying around my face. And the Cryptid Podcast, new friend of the show, Dano. He joined in on that. He and I are going to be doing a collab here in the very near future. So you'll be seeing me on his show. He'll be on mine. But yeah, Angie has 2 episodes. And then I'm on the fly here, people. I'm on the fly because this was supposed to be the John Turley show. And then Daniel from Remember That podcast. I have a message here. Nevermore Hollows has joined the chat over on YouTube. John Turley wants back in. Okay, let's see if he can come back in. John, it says you have Riverside open in more than one tab, so you need to close the other tab. Do you have Riverside open twice? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. It's just been there's somebody, I think it's the government, doesn't want us to do the live tonight. I don't know what it is. They said you can't have that much lusciousness in one live with these mullets. And they're like, we got to shut this thing down.
I mean, that's what it is. Two positive tabs right there, and it's just like overloading the system. Right.
So I forget where we were at before we got interrupted for the second time. You had come up to my booth and bought the lusciousness.
Yes. Got the mullet. Like I said, I think we were reminiscing about how we were both thinner in the old days, and so I guess since we left off at the old days, I'll go back to, I've always been a sci-fi fan, Bigfoot, everything really. My mom loved Star Trek, so when I was a kid, we grew up watching those reruns. Trying to keep the mullet down. There you go. We grew up. I mean, we watched In Search. Like Sunday night. This is what Sunday night was. Mom always made fried chicken. Every Sunday we had fried chicken for dinner. We would watch Star Trek at 6 o'clock. Then at 7 o'clock, In Search Of would come on. Then 8 o'clock, Battlestar Galactica. That was back in the 70s. So that was like must-see TV for me. And so I was into, all that. We watched a lot of, we had really cool, I know you guys out there kind of had like the Ghoul, and what was the other guy's name? Simi Terry. He was out of Indiana. I only knew him. The Night Stalkers are the ones that turned me on to Sammy Terry. I never even heard of him, but we had similar, like we had Big Chuck and Little John out of Cleveland. Like they are like one of the most beloved things. And then Channel 43 on Saturdays had Superhost, and he would play two movies like on Saturday. So we watch, you're watching all this classic Universal horror, monster movies, schlock, Hammer films, all that stuff. So occasionally on those shows, they would play Legend of Boggy Creek, Bigfoot, some like the other Bigfoot movies, Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, The Legend of Bigfoot, some of those other films that were huge in the 70s. So there was a lot of Bigfoot related cryptids, not just Bigfoot. It was Loch Ness Monster and Yeti and all that good stuff. So I mean, that's kind of, and I was a comic book collector as a kid, and that's, like I said, this room is, I mean, there's probably 6,000 comic books in here if you counted all of them. So that's that's what I was growing up, and I was kind of that's the way I was, kind of I don't know, nerdy kid. I wasn't nerdy, but I played baseball and a nerdy. I don't even know what that means.
That means Alan Wattenbarger from Nevermore Hollows.
There you go. I think it was pretty typical, growing up in small town Ohio. We rode our bikes and played flashlight tag and went swimming in the summer and just loved the summertime, and went sledding in the winter. And, I never really thought about going out and looking for creatures or anything like that in my later years. In my late teens and 20s, I got involved in partying. I was in a band for 5 years. Then I got into substance use really bad, and my life went down the toilet for about 10 years, and had a bunch of run-ins with law enforcement and things that I would not want to repeat these days. I learned my lesson was and I've turned that, I've kind of used that as that was a stepping stone to what I do now. So I work in community mental health. I'm a counselor. I try to help. Nerds are cool. Nerds are the coolest, actually. So I try to turn that, into, that's what I do. I help people with mental health and drug abuse and things like that. So that's my day job. And I went back after I got clean and sober, I went back to college and got 3 degrees in 10 years. And I wanted to, one of my goals was to get my master's degree in social work before I turned 50. So I graduated from the Ohio State University with my master's degree.
That's
May
awesome.
4th, 2020. I turned 50 May 7th. So
You hit your goal.
yeah,
Doesn't matter how much time's left. You hit your goal.
and that's what I tell a lot of people. I'll talk to people in their late 20s, early 30s, and they're like, "Man, my life's I've ruined my life." I'm like, "No, you haven't. You can go back to school. You can go back to vocational training. You can find something that you want to do that that enriches your life." And thank you. I think it's awesome too. I was blessed on many levels. Had a lot of help along the way. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just my journey. It was a lot of people's journey. But I tell people that all the time. There's nothing. A human being that puts their mind to something is the most unstoppable force on the planet Earth. Like if you want to do it, you can do it. You might have to fall down about 650,000 times, which sucks, but you can if you put your mind to it and you want to do it, you can do it, and you can achieve anything you want, and you can accomplish all those. I think about that too, like these things I wanted to do as a kid. This is something I used to tell people in my recovery group all the time. Think about those things you like to do as a kid that you dreamt about doing. Now, I'm not going to go for astronaut. obviously. That's a little, there's some things that are beyond the, just beyond reach right now. That's probably not going to happen
Right.
unless they want to just send a middle-aged fat guy out into space to see what
I
happens
do
to the
think they
rocket.
have a height requirement and a weight requirement. I'm pretty sure about that. They
Yeah.
don't want to. They don't
So,
want to have
but
to add
anything else?
extra propulsion to get you up into space. So,
Like, we're going to need 2 more boosters just for this guy. But there's other cool thing, like, getting into um, getting into the Bigfoot. Well, I'm kind of getting ahead, but I'm glad I'm talking because sometimes I'd like to talk about things and I forget about them. But getting into the Bigfoot world and kind of just milling about and getting to know people. And so I'll tell you, absolutely this was a bucket list for me. Little 5-year-old John Turley, who watched In Search of and saw that Patterson Gimlin film on the TV 100 times. Like, I would love to talk to those guys that were there that day. We were talking about Jeff Byers earlier. Um, Jeff was with Russ at the conference this weekend. So we were all, and the Night Stalkers were there as well. So they were all here in Coshocton back in like 2018, 19, for a thing that we had at the local museum in Roscoe Village. Jeff is putting on this show in Indianapolis, and they invite us, and me and Beth, my wife, we are just getting started. I mean, we're selling, like, we have like 10 t-shirts and like 10 necklaces that we make out of clay, and I painted them. Like, this is what's on our and some water bottles. Like, we have just little knickknacks that we have on our table. And they invite us to come out to Indianapolis and do this show. Bob Gimlin is going to be there. And I'm just like, what? We can do that? And so we went, and we talked to Jeff about this, and what a honor, and what a, it was just an amazing thing for us. It blew our mind. Like, we're invited. You want us to come? He's like, yes, of course. And it was beyond the pale. I'm like, there's no way you'd want. We're just little tiny town, too little. But it kind of goes back to what I'm saying. So I'm going to finish this story because this is a bucket list for me as far as Bigfoot goes. So we're at this, the Horror Hound is what it was, in Indianapolis. Bob Gimlin is standing next to me because I'm trying to work up the courage to talk to him because I'm just really like starstruck. I'm just like, it's Bob Gimlin, and he's the nicest man you'll ever meet. He's just he's a sweetheart. So nice. But Russ is dressed up in this Bigfoot costume. And this is what I wanted to talk to Bob about. Russ is dressed up in this Bigfoot costume. He can't hardly see, and he's running into the door frame as he's trying to walk out of the room we're in. And it's hilarious, and everybody's laughing. And Bob goes, poor Russ, he can't even see to get out of that suit. And Bob starts talking about the Philip Morris, Bob Hieronymus hoaxing horse crap.
right.
And talking about how they're looking through this one eye. He's got one eye, and he's walking in this gorilla suit through this dried out riverbed. And Bob's like, that's a good point right there. And I'm sitting there going, this is what I wanted to talk to you about. And he just starts talking to me for 10, and I've got tears in my eyes. He talks to me for 10 minutes about that day. And I'm just standing there, and he's talking right to me, and I've got tears in my eyes, and I'm like, Bob, I've wanted to talk to you about this for 50 years. I've wanted to, 45 years, whatever it was, but at the time, I'm like, I wanted to talk to you about this forever, man. This is such a blessing for me. And he just kept on talking. He was just so nice, and we talked about that. And I said, that's what I've always thought. Like, how can anybody put on a football helmet and a gorilla suit and walk through a dried out riverbed with that grace and that glide and turn around and look at the, have you ever walked in the wood? That's why people that say that, I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea of what you're talking about if you think that you can walk across a dried out creek bed that's been flooded, that's got debris in it, flotsam and jetsam. Ha! What do you think about that word? All over the place. There's all kinds of places. And you think you could put on a gorilla suit and walk through that? You couldn't put on your underwear and walk through that and turn around and look at the camera.
Wait, you wear underwear?
You would fall on your face, and it never stumble. It's the whole thing, and it for that whole time, it's walking just like gliding across an icy lake, and it's like, oh yeah, it's a guy in a gorilla suit. I'm like, yeah, sure, yep. No doubt in my mind, because that's exactly how a person would walk with a gorilla suit in a dried out creek bed with thousands of obstacles in the way.
Right.
Dummy
And I don't care how
me.
much you.
I just
I don't care how much you tried practicing that. You're not going to be able to do it. It's not like
Ain't no
walking
way.
across a dance floor. You know, like you said, just go out walking in the woods. Go walk through a creek bed or something. You're going to trip and fall. You're going to stumble. But you're not. It's not going to be that graceful like that.
no. And there's just, I mean, it's just impossible to even say that is just it just proves to me that you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I don't mind you having an opinion. That's fine. What if Patty was making her spells with Mexican? That's, I've heard that one before. Um, I've heard that scenario before. And it's totally possible. I mean, I don't discount. I don't discount anything that makes sense on a level of that is not a person in a gorilla suit.
Right. Matthew
If
Orton
that
is
makes
famous.
sense.
Matthew Orton is famous for coming up with the term Bigfoot orgy, describing a group of Bigfoot. Matthew, what if Patty was trying to lead them back to the rest of them for the Bigfoot orgy?
Wasn't that the premise of that movie that came out like last year? The
Pretty
Bigfoot
much.
movie
That
that didn't
I
even
couldn't watch
see
it. I couldn't watch it.
My friend went and saw it, and he told me about it, and I'm like, I can't. No, I can't do that. I mean, it's bad enough. I don't want to sound like a bleeding deacon about it, but every Bigfoot movie is just Bigfoot is a monster killer on the loose, and it's like, I don't really know if there's a lot of stories like that. I mean, certainly the Bowen thing, the one that Teddy Roosevelt talks about in his book. That one, supposedly broke that guy's neck, and I'm just sitting there thinking, or that place was was supposed to be really valuable with pelts, and this was the 1800s when people were just cutthroat. They would kill you for like a nickel, and you got all these pelts, and you don't want to share. Maybe that guy got his neck broke when the dude accidentally hit him over the head with a shovel.
It could be. Could be. I mean, you do hear about violent encounters, but the majority of them is just like roadside crossings, things at a distance. But I mean, you do hear about violent encounters, and a lot of times it seems like I think that the Bigfoot are a lot like people. You catch one on a bad day. People are like that. I've had a bad day. Now I've got these hairless apes out here in my area. I'm done. And you end up with a violent encounter. But most of the time, it seems like it's you see them at a distance and they walk off. Yeah, Matthew says lots of bluff charges.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've definitely heard a lot of stories about those. Even while we were listening to Mike Miller, talking about their incident that they had on on Terror in the Woods, and that's like kind of how that ended. Was he was walking into that. He was stepping into the forest, and he didn't realize there was something like not too far away from him doing some like heavy breathing, and it
It's
basically
funny.
made that bluff
Matthew just
charge.
said that growls and huffs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly the way Mike said it. So yeah, and I've had lots of other people, having those similar experiences recount to me. That's another great thing about uh, being a vendor and going to all the events is how many people walk up to me and they will say, "Have you ever seen one?" And then they want to tell you your story, you know. And that's the way a lot of people. I think one of the reasons I started going to Bigfoot conferences was it was very cathartic for me, and my experience uh, getting clean and sober, talking about your stuff is the best way. If you can laugh about it later, it doesn't bother you so much as you move into the future. And everything that was horrible at the time is just hilarious now. When you have these have some of the stories that I have are just like, oh my god. I told some stories to I had a class when I was working on my associate's degree, and it was communication class. You had to get up, basically, like, you had to write a speech, and you had to get up there and talk in front of the class. You just get used to public speaking, and so I'm used to it. Like, I'm way ahead of everybody. These are a bunch of kids. I've been talking in front of AA meetings for 3 or 4 years by now, so I'm used to it. So I go up there and I start telling them stories, and a lot of them were like, they thought I was really cool. When class started. By the end of the class, they didn't think I was that cool anymore. They were like, "Oh my god, you're a monster!" Yeah, I'm like, because I've done some things that were, I used to drive drunk a lot, and it was like I've got several DUIs, and they're just looking at me
We
like,
grew up in
yeah,
a different
that was
era,
me.
though.
That's true. That is
Things.
very true. It is really taboo now to do stuff and if I would have laid this on, like, and I never wore a seatbelt, I would have been like, oh, because my grandkids
I'm
get on
I'm
me
gonna
about
I'm
that.
gonna go on the record right now. Until I had kids, I never wore a seatbelt either. I didn't care if it was illegal or not. We didn't have to wear them whenever I was a kid. Hell, we didn't even have car seats or anything like that. We stood up against the dash in the front
Yeah,
floorboard.
and they held on to us by our underwear or diaper.
Right.
Like, mom would grab your diaper while you were standing on the passenger seat. Don't fall out the window. That was because you didn't have air conditioning in them cars.
Right. And then if something
And that
did
was
come
that
out and they
was
had to
the
press on
safety.
the brake, all you got was the arm
That
across
would
your
have been
chest.
that would have been yeah. That would have been the story too if the cops showed up. They'd be like, "Well, why'd the kid fall out the window? I told him not to. He just didn't listen."
They'd be like, he ain't gonna do that
Cops,
again.
cops would be like sitting there going, "Yep, yep. She told you, you dumb kid. Get back in the car. No."
So tell us about Crowtown Squatchers.
Um, so this Crowtown came about. I never, we had no inclination to do any of this. We ran into we were at Creature Weekend, which they had at Salt Fork. Our buddy Bruce um, used to put it on at Salt Fork, and everybody bugs him every time Bruce shows up to an event. Um, and you'll know Bruce when you see him. He's got the coolest Indiana Jones hat. But everybody's like, Bruce, when you gonna do Creature Weekend again? So he used to do that like in the fall at Salt Fork. So they have OBC, which is the High Bigfoot Conference. It's always in May. It's always first week in May. Then Bruce would do Creature Weekend in the fall, like it'd be around this time. And Creature Weekend was just, it was just a lot of fun. And you'd have, like I said, that's where I met Bob for the first time, I believe, and a bunch of other people that, because so some of the people that would come to OBC might come to Creature Weekend, but you'd have different speakers and different, and it was a little more loose than just Bigfoot. You might see somebody talking about other cryptids or ghosts or something to that effect. So it was a little more, open. So we run into the girl. She's working Monster Mart from Fouke, Arkansas. Like they had a table set up there, and so we walked over and we started talking to her, and I'm like, "Are you, do you work at the Monster Mart?" And she's like, "Well, I don't work there, but they asked me to come up here and do this," and I'm like, "Okay." So we're looking at all the stuff. And she's like, "Do you guys like coming to the shows?" I'm like, "Yeah, we love coming to every one of them, And she said, "Well, you ought to just be a vendor, and that way you get in. You're already here. You get to talk to everybody. You get to meet all the speakers, and you meet all the people on TV." And I was like, "Huh." So me and Beth talked about it, and she started making some stuff, and I got a hold of Mark DeWorth, and we got into the High Bigfoot Conference that coming spring, and like we did okay. Like we were surprised. Like I said, we had like 5 or 6 T-shirts. We had some knickknacks that we made, and some other stuff, and we sold enough to cover our booth and pay for our room. And I'm like, well, that was cool. People were buying us, buying our Bigfoot stuff, and that just kind of kicked it off. And I think part of the thing about, and I tell people this, Beth likes to tell people when they come to our table, a little bit of everything for everyone. And the thing that I tell people is we're fans, and the stuff that we have, and you've seen our table, the stuff we have on our table is stuff that I like, that we would buy, that we wear. We wear our own shirts because I like them. I don't, I'm thinking that's pretty cool. I want to retire and find Bigfoot. That's my retirement plan. That's the shirt we have. Of course I do. I'm done adulting. I want to go find Bigfoot. I don't want to adult anymore at all. I'm 55. I'm done adulting. I don't care. I don't want to do that stuff.
See, Becca, I'm not the only one who wants to quit my job and go Bigfooting.
And we were talking, Russ was saying that too, like yesterday. He's like, if I could just do Bigfoot shows every weekend, I would just retire. I wouldn't do anything else. Like if I could do 52 weeks out of the year, just go do a show on the weekend, I would retire. And I'm thinking, man, because I would do that. That would be great.
Yeah.
You could you could go squatch, you could go researching during the week, or you could do nothing, or you can, obviously make stuff. Like, I mean, that's what I do. Like this month we've had a show every weekend. So I work 10 hours or about 11 hours a day. Then I come home and eat dinner. Then I come down here in the basement. So this is one room in the basement. This is the Bigfoot room. And then out there is the workshop where I make all the shirts and I do the tie-dyes and all the coloring stuff. And actually, this is part of the workshop too, because this is where I do all the Legos and stuff like that in here. So it's all a workshop down here. So I work down here till 10 o'clock at night, go to bed, wake up, go to work, blah, blah, blah. So that's the typical week, like when we're doing show after show after show.
Right. Chris says he wants to quit his job, and yeah, that does count, Chris. Chris is that's yes. Chris Madman Goins. He's part of Nevermore Hollows as well. He was up there right next to me at OBJ. He had really cool art.
Oh yeah,
what's back there behind me right there?
Yeah,
yeah,
awesome.
So, yeah, we if you haven't yet, you need to check out Nevermore Hollows. I always push my friends. Nevermore Hollows, Drunken Cryptids. Gotta go listen to them all. Did you meet Matthew up at OBJ? Matthew from Drunken Cryptids?
Yeah. Matthew from Drunken Cryptids.
Yeah. I'm going to
Yes, and he also told me, he was like, I know you. I know you. I'm like, I'm not sure how. I'm sure we're friends on Facebook, but
yeah,
it's one of those deals, which is really cool about social media, that we all can kind of link up.
And there's Missy from Darkwoods Paranormal just dropped in. Missy, say hi to John Turley.
Hi, Miss.
Yeah, all my podcasting buddies are dropping in to say hi. That was nice. And a little while ago, and I didn't acknowledge him. I don't know if he's still here or not. Dejo Thomas. He is from India, so we were global there for at least a little while.
That is too cool.
Yeah, yeah, we were seen
Getting
all
out
around
all
the
around
world.
the world with our
Yeah,
Bigfoot stuff. Oh, that was a
the
cool.
mullet. It's the
Oh, I
mullet, man.
it's the mullet. They're just like that is so American. It's unreal.
Right, right. It's like I got to see what this is about. Two mullets on the same stage. Get out of here, man.
Yeah, no one can resist.
That's right. That's how I got Becca. She took one look at the mullet and said, "Yep, I'm marrying that dude." I don't know what's funny is that the mullet didn't exist when we met, so it was at our wedding though.
I was I was playing softball for my job. This was probably 89, I think. And I got a hit and I was on first base and the first baseman this and I had mine was when I first started when I first started growing it that time because I grew it out a couple of times, but I had it like almost buzz cutted on the front. I mean, it was business up front and party in the back. And I had never heard that word. I mean, I knew it looked like Billy Ray Cyrus, but know I didn't know that word mullet yet. So I was like, and the dude was like, "Has anybody ever told you you look like Billy Ray Cyrus?" And I was like, "Oh, hell no." I'm like
Did it
way
break your
better
achy
looking than
breaky heart?
Cyrus. It did not break my achy breaky heart. It just encouraged me to go hard. Then I grew it. Then I grew it out everywhere because then I, like I said, it was after that a couple years after I got in the band and
And
was
what kind of
rock and
music did you
rolling,
play?
and we played heavy. I mean, it was hard rock, heavy metal, Priest, Maiden. We wrote several of our own songs, but we would do. I mean, we would do like 42 song set list
Holy cow!
every night. Like we would play, yeah, we would play for like 3.5 hours, and those guys, I would just get rag on. You know, I'm like, you guys, you guitar players, you just think we can just play all night. Like you want me to sing Back in Black, taking the mullet to the world? Yes. But I'm like, you guys want me to sing like 3 Brian Johnson songs doing, that gravelly voice. And then I'm like, and then sometimes they'd be like, well, let's start off with Back in Black. And I'm like, no, that ain't how this works. AC/DC is something you play at the end when your voice is already like, bah, I'm already ragged. Let's tear it up. We're not gonna play that, because it was, this was the mid '90s, so I mean, you had to throw in some ballads in there too. You can't just go all balls to the wall
And then you
the
threw
whole
in some
time.
like Boys to Men.
Uh, yeah, exactly. I'll tell you. Here's a real funny one. So we're playing. We got a gig to play this dude. He was a friend of ours, and he was having this huge, gigantic party out in the middle of nowhere. And right at the beginning, the neighbors are all like on hills, but they're like a mile over that way and a mile over that way. But we have this awesome system that when we went and got our equipment, we bought it all brand new because I had just lost my job and got my 401k and stuff, and I'm like, we're buying some killer stuff. So we got like brand new giant JBL speakers and all this stuff. So when we turn it up to 10, I mean, it's like Spinal Tap. It's going to, and it's blaring. We're knocking. We're making the dogs howl over in the next county, and because we're out in the middle of the sticks. So the sheriff's deputies come out early and tell us, You need to turn it down. And we had it on about 7 at that time. I'm not kidding. So when they left, we turned it up, of course. And told us if we come back, we're arresting Joe. His name was Joe. And so when the cops come back, we had our county, the next county over, and 3 like small little local cops that were like from little townships and stuff. There was like 5 different agencies of police there. They come to get Joe. So we started playing. It was funny because the band had been practicing Mission Impossible. You know, dun 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 dun. So while the cops are going through the house looking for Joe to arrest him, that's what we're playing. And then when they're home, we started playing Man in the Box. Well, so the cops are hauling him away, and we're playing Man in the Box, and
That's
party's
hilarious.
over.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know this was going to be a music podcast tonight. You never know where you never know where my shows go.
That's true. You just don't know. I mean, us Bigfooters have led varied and intrepid lives. So, you know,
I'm going to go back and say though, I think that's just our generation, the '80s generation. You know, we got into so much stuff that we all have really good stories because there was nobody there to there was no security cameras. There was no social media. You know, as long as you didn't make the papers, you were fine.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes you could make the papers and it was just made it even just made it better.
Let's see what Alan says. Alan will probably include that in Nevermore Hollow story now.
It was. I mean, it was one of the more fun gigs, that's for sure. It was a blast. It was just too funny. I mean, like you said, and it was the 80s. It was a different time. I mean, the police were they focused on, you know, that it's his house, it's his property. Like, we're arresting him. You know, they told us to turn it down, but they didn't tell us to leave, so we just stayed.
Yeah. This isn't as cool as your story, but back when I was a young man, my aunt and uncle they had a swimming pool, and we were all drinking, we were all drunk, and we were playing tackle football in the pool, and cops got called on us, and I'm sure the statute of limitations is over on this. I was underage, and so the cops show up and tell us to keep it down, and said, you know, if I have to come back, you know, somebody's getting a ticket. And me, 19 and drunk, I look at the cop and said, that ticket goes to the owner of the house, right? And my uncle's looking at me like, you son of a bitch.
But yeah, I mean, you understood how it worked.
Right.
That's exactly how it goes.
Like, I'm not going to jail.
Give him a ticket. Yeah. They're going to haul you off.
Yeah. So what kind of what's your next event you're going to? We're probably about done for the year, aren't you?
Yeah, we got just two left. We're going to do a little thing down in Marietta. It's called the Marietta Monster Mash. That's November 7th, whatever weekend that is. The weekend after Halloween. So it's kind of late. I mean, obviously they would rather had it on Halloween weekend, but I think it was a discrepancy with the location. They have it at the Marietta or Washington County Fairgrounds, which is right in the middle of Marietta, and it's just a fun little gig. And there's they're gonna have a bunch of wrestlers there this year. I didn't know. I talked to the organizer. Her name's Nikki, and I'm like, how do you? What's with all the wrestlers? She's like, I got this friend, and he's like, I can get you these guys and these guys. So the powers of pain are going to be there. The Barbarian and the Warlord, and Earl Hebner. I don't know if you remember him. He's famous for that. Um, Him and his brother were twins, and they did that Saturday night's main event where Hulk Hogan lost the belt to Andre, and Andre gave it to Million Dollar Man, and like that was it was huge. And so Earl Hebner's going to be there, and the Powers of Pain, and a few other wrestlers, and there's a bunch of horror people there. It's for the and it's not that big of a. It's kind of it's probably about the same size of building we were in the other day. So I
Mhm.
don't know how she's going to pack all this awesomeness in one little building because it's like it's really starting to outgrow that.
You
And we were
you
down there
probably ought to
last year. It
leave the
was
mullet at home. You get all them
no,
wrestlers plus that mullet, that place may implode.
yeah, we might have to set up a ring and do battle because that was that was another bucket list item. As I wanted to be a wrestler really bad. So
Well, set
we
it up
cut
for next
promos and
weekend,
everything.
man.
That's what I'm
You-
thinking. Like one time only match.
Right.
John Turley taking on the Barbarian.
Get body slammed one time in your life. That's all you need, right?
It would probably be all I needed.
So after
They'd be
Monster Fest,
carting
where
me
you
out.
headed?
Then it's down to Lexington, Kentucky for Cryptid Con. Cryptid Con is kind of the official end to the season, and they have the lineup for that. You got to get on Facebook and check out their page, Cryptid Con, Lexington, Kentucky. I mean, they have everybody's going to be there. They have Expedition Bigfoot, Sons of Appalachia, or geez, Cliff Barrickman's going to be there. John Zaffis, he was affiliated, I believe, with the Warrens. He's got the Haunted Museum over in Connecticut. For a while, he's the one that had the Annabelle doll. They the guy that played the banjo in Deliverance is going to be there. Like he's all grown up now. He's not a little kid anymore. Duh. But
Alan just heard that, and he's like, "I've got to go now."
Yeah, and there's another guy, Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings. He's going to kill me if I say his name wrong. But he's there every year. He's an incredible musician. Him and his wife, they play like fiddles and stuff. They've been there for several years. So I'm looking forward to see if they're going to all. And he plays, like bluegrass. And he plays like the flat fiddle, and he can play. I mean, he's just a musician, and they play all kinds of neat stuff. So I'm wondering that there's no way they can't all just team up for a big old. I mean, they literally have a hoedown there Friday night because it's. I mean, there's some. I'm like I said, I'm a teetotaler now, but there's some beer drinking involved, I believe. And so if you like that kind of stuff, Friday nights. You want to be down there early, so.
Well,
And it's Saturday and Sunday.
yeah, I kind of wanted to go, but we'll see. Crypticon. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then, so like I said, that's pretty much the end of it. There's a few Krampus festivals. I don't think I'm going. Our friends put one on up in Erie. And last year there was 5 feet of snow.
Oh,
5 feet.
Oh,
not
Erie,
5,
Pennsylvania.
just not. Yeah. They had that atmospheric river that the week before that, and it's just like, I mean, it was 5 feet. There was 8-foot snow drifts on the sidewalks.
Holy
They
cow!
had tunnels cut through. for people to walk through. They had tunnels cut through the snowdrifts. And when we got there, I mean, there was this much snow, this much, so like almost a foot of snow after they plowed. And they plowed up the sides. You couldn't see the parking meters. 2-lane roads were only 1-lane road, and we're parked beside this little. It used to be an old train station, so the place has got the atmosphere of The Shining. It is so cool. Me and Snuffy were out like on this where they used to come in, had those tiled floors, the big vaulted ceilings with the weird stuff on the walls that you're like, what the hell is that? Is that an eagle or a gargoyle or, neat stuff like that.
Did they just redo that train station thing? Like, did somebody just buy that and revamp it not long ago?
Yeah.
I think I saw a documentary on that, actually.
Because there's a restaurant in there. It's like a bar and a restaurant right in the main, like where you would go get your tickets and wait for your trains to come in. That was the main center place. That's where like the bar and stuff is now. So yeah, they put a lot of money into it. It's a neat place.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to that. Yeah. It's a long drive.
Yeah.
To go play in the snow.
Well, John, we are coming up on 8 o'clock. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find Crowtown Squatchers?
You can find Crowtown Squatchers on Facebook. Go to Crowtown Squatchers store. That's our Facebook page. If you see anything cool that you want, just shoot me a message. We also have a website, crowtownsquatchers.com. And you go on there and order shirts and hoodies. And I don't have all the toys and things on there yet because I have been doing a million other things, and playing with the website is not one of my most favorite deals.
Yeah.
It is a chore sometimes. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's like,
well, maybe someday we'll all get rich and famous and we can pay somebody to do all this social media stuff for us.
That would be so great. That would just be the best. Like, you here, pay to make me more money. I would have no problem with that. Like, I would have no problem with that at all.
Right. And Alan says, this was a fun interview. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Alan. And we didn't even talk about what we were going to talk about. We talked about many other things, but that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we brought up Bigfoot but 2 times.
Well, there we go. We'll save it for another show.
That's right. Maybe we can come on and do a one-on-one sometime when you get some free time. It'll be after the first of the year now. I'm all booked up, so. But John, thank you for coming on Myths, Monsters, and Mullets Live. And if you've had a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. And then you might see the 2 Johns at some Bigfoot conference here in the future. So, John, thank you for coming on tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me.